Welcome to this video. I'm going to introduce you to one of the new features coming in API 4.8, the MCP server, or how to convert your HTTP proxy API into an MCP server. For this video, I'm going to use a weather forecast API offered by OpenMeteo. It's an API that allows you to retrieve different weather variables for a given location. To start, I have created an API, an HTTP API that targets this API, and it has been started and deployed. And now if I use it on Postman, for example, if I send my first request, I answer. Okay, we know that, nothing fancy. But now I want to enable MCP. To do that, I will go on the entry points menu and go to the MCP entry point tab. Well, now I will enable MCP by clicking on this button. And immediately, what I can see is that we have an MCP pass /MCP. This pass will actually be added to the API context pass. I will create it, deploy it, and now I will have to test MCP. To do that, I will use the MCP inspector tool. This MCP inspector tool allows you to test MCP server, so let's use it for our API. To consume an MCP server with the APIM gateway, I need to use streamable HTTP. And to call my API, I will have to use the URL of my API, and I will add /MCP, which is the specific path in the MCP protocol for on our gateway. I can now try to connect, and it's okay. If I click on these tools, there is nothing. Normal, I have configured no tool on my API. Now I will have to go on my console and I will generate tools for my new API. To do that, I will use my OpenAPI specification and I will be able to generate tools based on this OpenAPI. So let's use the OpenAPI specification of this weather API. It's a simplified one for the video. Let's click on generate tools. I paste my OpenAPI, and immediately I can see that a tool has been generated based on the OpenAPI spec. We can find, for instance, all the query parameters that have been added. I add the tool, I save, and I deploy my API. Let's go back on MCP Inspector. Let's list the tools now. Hey, we have the Get Weather Forecast tool. If I click on it, I'm able to use it in this formula. Let's test it. With an option, a longitude, run the tool. And here we are. We have the right answer coming back from the endpoint. Okay, we have enabled MCP server on HTTP proxy. But as we are using an existing HTTP API, we benefit from the security layer and also from the analytics. Let's try adding an API key plan. So to test it, I will just remove my default keyless plan. And I will add a new API key plan. Okay, I will deploy it. And then I will create a subscription. Let's copy the API key and go back to MCP server. Okay, now if I try to reconnect, I should have deployed my API. And if I try to reconnect, I cannot because it is protected with an authentication layer. So let's try my API key. Here we are. It's okay. I can now list my tool again and test it. Oh, with input, it's better. Okay. And what about analytics? we can go on API traffic, and first of all, we can see that every request has been logged. So I can see all my post requests because MCP is using the post HTTP word. And I can see that I've used the API key plan or the default plan here, the default keyless plan. Now I will activate all the logs, save, deploy, and let's do some call again on the tool. This one, and maybe I can list the tool also. Let's go back here on the traffic, on the logs, and I can see here, for instance, I have logged my MCP call with the post. Here I have the JSON request to call my tool getWeatherForecast. And we can see that the endpoint response is actually the real backend response. And the gateway will then wrap this response into a JSON RPC response with the content. We can also log the list here, because here we have this tool list, which is the command sent by the MCP inspector when we want to list the tools available on the gateway. And as we are just listing tools, we are calling no endpoint, so there is no endpoint request nor response. And it's only the gateway that will create the response by listing the tool available on this API. So in this video, we have seen how to enable MCP protocol on an existing open API and how to declare tool and how we can use it with MCP protocol, MCP inspector.